Talk with Buddy D, WWL's Big Daddy of Sports.
Are you nuts? You must like being called a squirrel.
Louisiana's Sportscaster of the Year, more times than you can say
WWL.
Now, the mouth of the South, WWL's Buddy D.
Welcome back to Sports Talk Buddy D. One of the top feel-good stories of the NFL season belongs to Jake Delhomme, former Saints quarterback, in the organization for 6 years, signed as a free agent with the Carolina Panthers, didn't start the season, got in at the start of the second half, never relinquished the job, and took them all the way to the Super Bowl and came darn close to winning the Super Bowl MVP award. Jake, thank you very much. And in a manner, I guess the last month has almost been a blur, huh?
Well, I don't know what the last month. It seems like the last 6 months have almost been a blur. You know, training camp was like normal training camp. It was only a month long, but it felt like a year. And the next thing you know, I get put in the second half of the first game. And it really, you know, physically it feels like it's 10 years of playing football. But other than that, it felt like it was only 2 weeks. And, you know, and then next thing you know, we're in the Super Bowl. So the season went pretty quick. But everything goes quick when you're winning.
Jake, did you surprise yourself? I mean, that for the length of the run.
Well, you know, buddy, I would have to say yes. That, you know, my first year starting, we went to the Super Bowl. But I'd have to say no in the fact that I thought if I could get on the field some kind of way, I could be productive. And I don't need to be no superstar. I don't need to be someone that throws for yards and all these touchdowns. I could care less about those things. As long as I can just do my part to help my team win, then I'm happy. And I felt, if given the opportunity, that I could do that. And I was lucky enough to be put on a pretty good football team with a lot of high character guys, and we came together and we won a lot of close games. The next thing you know, we're 5-0. We're on a roll, and then all you need to do is get your foot in the door in the playoffs, and then things happen.
And of course, in the playoffs, you know, they kind of turn the ball over to you. They were bringing you along on the, you know, not the slow side, but the proper way to bring you along in your first year as a starter. And then all of a sudden, man, I know in the Super Bowl, they turned the game over to you and said, hey, you got to win it for us.
Well, that's kind of funny. Kevin Donnelly, our lineman who retired yesterday, him and I had a long talk this morning, and, you know, it's kind of funny. He said, hey, I played 13 years. He said, you know, I know we didn't win the game, but it's about as close to going out on top as I could possibly imagine. And he said, it's just real fulfilling. He said, the thing that he's going to miss most is our team. He said, because, you know, Jake, our defense and our special teams, they carried us early on. And then the tides kind of, you know, everything kind of turned a little bit, and we started to carry him toward the end, you know. And he said that was pretty special, us doing that, and we really came together as a team. And I think that was the case. You know, I needed to do some growing up and learning to play, and that's probably what I take the most pride in, is that, you know, as a quarterback, you can play good for a couple of games, don't get me wrong. But defensive coordinators, they find out where's your weakness, and they will attack you, and they will exploit you. So, you know, that's what I'm most proud of, is that I felt I've improved as the season got along, and that meant that all the coordinators had all these games to go back and watch and whatnot. But I was lucky enough to feel that I kept on working hard, and I was improving, and I was able to help my team win some big games down the stretch, and hopefully I can build on that into next year.
Jake, I know you were close with Kurt Warner, and I guess it almost was becoming a Kurt Warner story as the season and eventually the Super Bowl. And did you talk to him in that time frame?
Well, I did speak with him before we played St. Louis for a good while before the game, and after the game, I really was only able to spoke to him for a second, and Kyle Turley. But then he left me a message the morning after the Super Bowl, and you know, it's a very nice message. Certainly. You know, it doesn't matter what anyone says the morning after the Super Bowl, you know, you don't want to hear anything, but he said, hey, Jake, look, he said, I've been there before, you know, and he was on the other side of it against New England a couple of years back, and, you know, and he just said, hey, things will be all right, you know, I know it's tough, I'm not trying to make you feel better, but you know, keep your head up and keep fighting, you know, and I thought that was extremely nice of him to call and say that, because, you know, he has been on that other side of the rope, I should say, the losing end.
Jake, you got one left on your current contract, and I'm assuming Carolina is going to try and maybe get something done with you in the offseason, because it would benefit them that. Because if you come back, if they don't, you come back and have the kind of year you had this year, all of a sudden you can say, give me Tom Brady money.
Well, yeah, you know, and that's something that my agents, Rick Smith at Priority Sports, I mean, we have a very good relationship with Carolina and Marty Herney, and that's something that we might address as the off season goes on. But first, they need to get guys that are that are not under contract right now. You know, preferably a Steve Smith, if I had to mention names, get him back, and you know, maybe we'll talk sometime a little later. But I'm not too worried about that. I just think things will take care of themselves. I know I only want to be in one place, and that's in Carolina. It's just been a great fit. Kind of funny how things work out, but we're lucky to be there. My wife and I absolutely love it. We love the organization, and we couldn't be happier.
One of the things I noticed, you said that you sort of admired that organization from the season before your Super Bowl run, the 2002 season, when they came down here and they had nothing to gain and they upset the Saints in that final game of the season. You said how tough they played, even though they had nothing really as far as playoffs to play for.
Exactly. You know, they won 4 out of the last 5, and you know, they started out 3-0 and then lost 8 in a row. So I mean, you're 3-8. You know, you're not in the playoffs, and you know, really, a lot of guys on most teams would be, you know, they're looking to see where they're going the day after the season ends. And for that team, they strapped it on and they won 4 out of 5. And I've always said it's only 2 things about that team. One, they've got high-character football players who stuck together and kept on working. And the second thing, they got a coach who kept that team together, and they believed in him. And he carried over because we went 4-0 in the preseason. So we went 4-0 in the preseason, and then we started out 5-0. So that was 9 games in a row we won just to start this season. I know you don't count preseason, but anytime you win, it builds momentum, and especially for young guys, they get used to winning. You get used to you know, enjoying that and working that way, and it just kind of carried over. And I thought that was pretty neat. And hopefully, you know, we can do the same thing again this year.
During the playoff run, did you talk to anybody from the Saints? I mean, like Aaron Brooks or somebody that, you know, I know you all were friends with.
You know, I talked to Kevin Hauser. I speak with pretty frequently, and J.T. O'Sullivan pretty frequently. Those 2 guys. I did speak with Mike McCarthy maybe once or twice, you know, and him and Coach Mike Shepard, they just kind of called and just, hey, congratulations, keep it going. You know, I've had great relationships with those guys off the field, but, you know, Jerry Fontenot did leave me a message the week of the Super Bowl, and those things, you hold those things pretty special, you know, because I know if they would make it, I'd be doing the same thing to those guys because, you know, that's what you play for, is to try to get to the big dance. And they were pulling for me, and it wasn't just a kind of a token call. They really meant it, and you know, you kind of hold those things special.
We had Billy Joe Tolliver on the week of the Super Bowl, and he said he was going to the game as your guest, and he told a story about when Ditka was here, told him that, you know, you got a guy sitting there that could be a starter in the league for 10 or 12 years.
Well, you know, Billy and I, we're very close friends, and he kind of took me under his wing, and, you know, I needed to do some growing up football-wise, and, you know, I finally got a chance to play the last couple of games for Coach Ditka, and we went 1-1, and, you know, was really kind of hoping he would still be there because, you know, it was like finally I broke through. You know, a coach gave me a chance, and he liked me. You know, maybe I can, you know, go through the off-season and have an opportunity the next year. But then Coach Haslett and them came in and, you know, really had to reestablish myself again. And Jeff Blake was the starter. And but, you know, those times, you know, they made me a better player. I truly believe that. I got to learn Mike's system, be under Mike McCarthy for a long time, and really kind of learn the game from the inside and out and just kind of grow as a player and as a person. And you know, right now I look at it, I mean, hey, I'm 29 years old, but I only have 1 year playing. So physically, I feel pretty darn good. Hopefully I have some more good years left in me.
We're visiting with Jake Delhomme. Stick with us. Jake, we take one break, and I know you got to go at 6:30, but we'll be back after this.
Sounds good.
WL 870 AM, the news, talk, and sports leader.
Welcome back to Sports Talk Buddy D. We're visiting with Jake Delhomme. 2 weeks ago, came, well, maybe possibly within minutes of winning the MVP award in the Super Bowl. And Jake, what does John Fox bring to the table? I mean, man, it's only his second year and you got a team in the Super Bowl. That's a good credential.
Well, you know, Coach Fox, he's just kind of a fun guy to play for. He brings consistency. I think that's the biggest thing. You know, he's always got quotes and he's always got cliches, but you know, Coach Fox's biggest thing is be the same guy. You know, because he's going to be the same guy. You know, and even when we started out 5-0 and everybody's patting us on the back, we weren't letting up in practice. You know, I don't care who you were. You know, you were going to get after it. And he's got an open door policy, and that's one thing. He's up front with you. He won't lie to you just to try to appease you and make you happy. I mean, you might not like what he tells you, but he's going to tell you the truth. And that's what I like him. He's just up front. He's the same guy. He's a family man, and he wants good people on his football team. That's one of the biggest things when I went on my visit last year. He goes, I don't care how good of a player you are. He said, if you're not a good person, and if you don't treat people with respect and whatnot, you're not going to be here. And he said, that's the kind of team I want. And I just felt that was right down my alley. And I just can't tell you how much fun we had, not only on the field, but in the locker room. Just having some of those older veteran guys, even the young guys that we drafted and picked up, just some mature individuals. And it just made for a fun locker room. It was a fun group.
So it was all football in that respect.
It was. You know, it really was. But one thing, you take a guy like Ricky Pro, a 14-year veteran, you know, and he's one of the biggest jokesters on the team, him and Kevin Donnelly. But those guys, like Ricky Pro in training camp, we went 2-a-days every day. So you can understand if every third day or so he would take an afternoon off. I mean, that's out of respect, you know, because he's getting up there in age, he's a receiver. But he never missed a practice, he never missed a thing. And he just showed that work ethic to the young guys. But in the same breath, you know, he's cutting up and joking, but when it's time to go, it's total focus and get after it. And there's a time and place to joke around, but when it's time for business, it's time to go. You know, and he would stay later after meetings and whatnot and do extra film work on his own, and younger guys would stay around and see that. And I just think that kind of carries over. And I was lucky enough to have Tolliver there with me in New Orleans, and we were the last ones to leave the building almost every night. And I just I got to see that and be around that, and I just like that. And hopefully one day there's a young guy coming up, and maybe he can stay around me a little while, you know, and try to learn what I was taught from true professionals.
When you all were making your run for the playoffs, and John Fox was quoted as saying that he had his eye on you for a while. So after you got there, was that true? I mean, in the sense that he apparently had you in the back of his mind even before you visited.
Well, you know, I guess he did. I don't know if he was just saying that or whatnot, but maybe he did. I don't know how or whatnot, but, you know, I'm sure glad he did.
Jake, I don't know if you know it, but the Jake Delhomme factor certainly played a role, probably a major role, in the viewingship in this area. New Orleans was ranked third in the nation as far as the share of the viewing audience, third in the nation. The only two ranked ahead of them were Kansas City and the Greensboro, High Point, North Carolina area. Behind you was Boston, Houston, Charlotte. Yeah, I mean, in the sense that they had more people as far as the share per audience availability in New Orleans watching that game. And I know without you weren't a little factor in that type of viewing audience.
Well, I'm very proud of that. But, you know, even if Peyton and them would have been in the Super Bowl, it would have been the same thing, too. You know, we're proud people, especially down in South Louisiana. And you know, I kind of relate to a lot of the people down in New Orleans, I guess you can say. And they always like a local boy. And, you know, I'm proud of that fact, you know, that I do get a lot of support out there. And that's something that I cherish.
I understand that Sports Illustrated is in the process of going to have a feature story on you coming up.
Yeah, John Ed Bradley came down a couple of weeks ago, and it was kind of nice. John Ed is from Opelousas, which is not far from here, so he has a pretty good understanding of what's it like growing up in South Louisiana and the heritage and the culture and the family and all the traditions and whatnot. So it was great to get to meet John Ed and spend some time with him. And, you know, it's kind of funny. You know, Sports Illustrated is going to have an article about myself. I kind of chuckle when I think about it, but it just kind of makes me laugh.
It really is. It's an amazing story. I see John Casey, the place kicker, signed a new contract today and a 5-year deal, but he was the first of 17 unrestricted free agents you all have. So are those some key people that are unrestricted free agents?
Well, we do have some key guys, don't get me wrong, but Kevin Donnelly was one of them, so really we only have 15 left. So Donnelly retired, and we did sign John Casey. The thing that I try to look at is that I really feel we have our core intact, meaning like up front. We both have our left tackle signed, our right tackle signed, our center signed, and we have a guy we drafted in the second round last year who started a couple of games for us. I believe he'll just slide into Kevin's spot. And in my left guard, I believe they're working with him right now. We have both running backs back and the fullback. We have our rookie tight end who started for us this year, who's going to be a good player. Musin Muhammad, he's still under contract. Steve Smith, we feel pretty confident that'll get done. So we feel, and Ricky Pearl's also on the contract. So we have a pretty good core there. And the defense, that's where I'm excited because the front four, they're pretty good and they're intact at least for another 2 or 3 years, all of them. And then we'll have Dan Morgan, our linebackers, he's back, Will Witherspoon, and if everything keeps on going the way it is, we'll have Mark Fields back, and that's going to be just a huge lift for our team. And we have a starting strong safety back, so we have the core intact. Certainly, you need some other guys like to fill in and whatnot, guys that you need to have around on your team, special teams guys. That we have a few guys that I guess Fred McAfee is who I can relate to with the Saints. We have guys like him, guys that. They're good to have around. They're good football players, but they're good guys to have on the team. So hopefully we can get as many and maybe upgrade in a couple of positions. But that's why they spend all those long hours watching film. That's something that I'm not going to worry about that much. Just the new guys that come in, make them feel welcome and at home, and get them used to playing Panther football.
Jake, one final question. In hindsight, and sometimes God acts in strange ways, in that season, Aaron Brooks had the bad shoulder. The last 3 games, 4 games, you never did get an opportunity. And the way it worked out, I guess that might have been to your benefit, because even though you might have been able to show your stuff here, they might not have gotten to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you're right. I look at it in a couple of different ways. I would have loved to be able to have an opportunity, not only for myself last year, but for the team. Because we had a pretty good football team in 2002 to help us try to get in the playoffs. But the little action that I did get, things kind of went my way. So I had some pretty good film, although limited. Kind of enabled me to kind of just get a job somewhere, and it just ended up in Carolina. Just I'm a firm believer. What's meant to be is meant to be, and things happen for a reason. And it would have been great to be in New Orleans and whatnot, but that just doesn't happen all the time. But I ended up in a good place around good people, and my wife and I are happy, and that's all that matters.
Jake Delhomme, good luck, guy, and you certainly made this a very, very proud Super Bowl week, and keep it up.
Well, I'm going to try my best. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay, Jake Delhomme, what a story he ended up with this football season. I tell you, sounded like he hadn't changed a bit. All of the hoopla and everything and what he accomplished and came close to being the MVP in the Super Bowl. Sounds like the same guy that was there. What a great story. We're going to continue with Sports Talk. Stay with us.